My sister Mary was always a troublemaker. Years ago, she ran away with my husband Todd, leaving behind her son Matt who, according to her, only had 6 months to live due to a serious illness. I haven't seen Mary or Todd for 15 years until now. They stood right in front of me, and seeing them brought back so many painful memories. Todd laughed as Mary talked about Matt like everything was fine. Their attitude made me sick. Just as I was about to confront them, I heard Matt's voice behind me. "Mom, it's time to go." I turned and saw him, grown up and confident in a suit. Mary and Todd's expressions changed instantly when they recognized him. "I'm Gemma, 40 years old, and I work in an office management position for a financial firm downtown. I raised Matt, my nephew, after Mary abandoned him. I've cared for him for 15 years, and he's turned into a wonderful young man I'm proud to call my son. Before all this happened, I had what I thought was a happy marriage with Todd. We had been together for 7 years, and while we had our ups and downs like any couple, I believed we were solid. Todd worked as an accountant, and I was building my career in office administration. We had plans to start our own family someday, but we weren't in a rush. Mary, my younger sister by 3 years, had always been the wild one in our family. Growing up, she was constantly in trouble, skipping school, sneaking out at night, and later, making questionable choices with men. Our parents tried their best with her, but nothing seemed to work. Despite all this, I loved her fiercely and always tried to be there for her when she needed me. When Mary got pregnant at 19 with Matt, she was abandoned by his father almost immediately. I stood by her side through the pregnancy and helped her adjust to life as a single mother. I thought our bond as sisters was unbreakable. How wrong I was. It all started when I came home one evening to find little Matt waiting for me with a note. Mary had written that she was leaving with Todd. On the table were divorce papers. I tried calling them both, but they didn't answer. I was devastated to realize my husband had run off with my sister, leaving me and Matt behind. "Where did Mommy go?" Matt asked, his innocent eyes filled with confusion. I hugged him tightly, heartbroken for the innocent boy. The betrayal cut deep, not just Todd's infidelity, but Mary's willingness to abandon her own child and betray her sister in one cruel stroke. That night, I sat on my kitchen floor and cried until I had no tears left. The shock was overwhelming. How long had they been seeing each other behind my back? How could my own sister do this to me? To Matt? The questions swirled in my mind, with no answers forthcoming. I remember calling my mother that night, barely able to speak through my sobs. "They're gone, Mom." Todd and Mary. They left together. The silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. Neither of us could comprehend such a betrayal. Mary had always worked hard as a single mom after her own divorce, or at least that's what she wanted everyone to believe. But when Matt was 5, she came to my house exhausted and in tears. She told me he was seriously ill and might not live more than 6 months. She claimed she couldn't care for him anymore. "I can't watch him die, Gemma," she sobbed. "I just can't do it. The doctors said his condition is terminal." I offered to help without hesitation. "I'll take care of Matt for a while," I said. Mary seemed relieved, almost too relieved in retrospect, and soon Matt and I grew very close. At first, Mary would come back to visit, bringing small toys or books for Matt. She would sit with him for an hour or two, then claim she needed to run errands. But over time, she stayed away longer and longer. Eventually, Matt was with me every weekend while Mary claimed she needed me time to cope with his illness. I began to worry about Mary's absence. When I asked her why she stayed out so late, she brushed it off, saying she was just relaxing, but I knew something was wrong. Her behavior seemed irresponsible, and I couldn't understand how she could leave Matt so easily if he truly was as sick as she claimed. Mary started to leave Matt with me more and more often, coming back late or not at all. When I confronted her about it, she brushed me off. "Gemma, I have my own life to live," she said coldly. I could tell she was hiding something, but she dismissed my concerns. Over time, I realized she wasn't going to change, no matter what I said. Eventually, I found out Mary was dating different men and leaving Matt with me without even letting me know. Sometimes she would drop him off at my door without a word. I felt betrayed. When I asked Matt if he knew where his mom went, he said, "No, Mom doesn't like to talk about it." The more time passed, the more I noticed concerning patterns. Matt would arrive at my house in the same clothes for days in a row. His hair would be unwashed, and sometimes he seemed hungry, as if he hadn't had a proper meal. When I packed his favorite toys to send back home with him, they would never return with him on his next visit. Once, when Matt had a fever, I called Mary repeatedly with no answer. When she finally called back the next day, her excuse was that she had lost track of time while out with friends. Her indifference to her son's well-being was becoming increasingly apparent, and it broke my heart. Then, one day, Mary left without saying anything at all. She abandoned Matt with me and ran off with Todd, the ultimate betrayal. I never saw her again until today. I was left alone to care for Matt while she disappeared with Todd. I was furious and hurt, but I couldn't let Matt see that. He looked so scared. Kneeling down to meet his eyes, I said gently, "Matt, your mom might not be coming back for a while." "Why not?" he asked, his voice trembling. I struggled to find the right words. "Your mom had to go far away, but you have me. I'll always be here for you, okay?" Matt hesitated, then nodded with a small, uncertain smile. From that moment, it was just me and Matt. Those first few nights were the hardest. Matt would cry himself to sleep, asking for his mother. I would hold him, rocking him gently and promising that everything would be okay, even as I doubted it myself. During the day, I put on a brave face, but at night, after Matt was asleep, I would let my own tears fall. I applied for emergency guardianship and started the long process of legally becoming Matt's caretaker. The courts tried to locate Mary, but she had seemingly vanished. I hired a private investigator who eventually found a trail. Mary and Todd had crossed the state line and were living together in a small apartment, showing no intention of returning for Matt. Matt was fragile, easily getting tired even from light activities. Mary had told me he was receiving treatment, but it didn't seem like he'd been cared for properly. Worried about his health, I took him to the hospital for a checkup. That's when I learned the truth about his condition. Reflecting on his past, I remembered how Mary had only fed him things like jelly and bananas. When I asked if that was enough, she'd snapped, "It's all he eats, so don't give him anything else." The doctors explained that Matt's diet was severely lacking in nutrition. From that point on, I began learning about proper nutrition to help Matt get stronger. Every morning, I made nourishing soups filled with vegetables to ensure he got the nutrients he needed. "Mrs. Reynolds," the doctor said with concern in his voice, "Matt is suffering from severe malnutrition. There's no terminal illness here, just a child who hasn't been getting proper food and care." I was shocked. But his mother told me he was dying, that he had 6 months to live. The doctor shook his head sadly. "I'm afraid that's simply not true. Matt needs proper nutrition, routine, and stability. With that, he should make a full recovery." Relief washed over me, followed quickly by anger. Mary had lied, not just to get away from her responsibilities, but to make me believe her own child was dying. What kind of mother could do such a thing? At first, it was hard for Matt to eat much, but over time he got better at finishing his meals. "Good job, Matt. You're eating more than before." "Thank you, I'm trying my best," he said with a shy smile. As he grew stronger, his confidence returned, and so did his bright spirit. I started taking him out for light exercise, always consulting the doctors to make sure it was safe. I just wanted him to have a chance at a long, healthy life. Matt's smile grew wider, and he began to enjoy himself more. Each night, I tucked him into bed and listened as he excitedly told me about his day. "Today I played catch and threw the ball farther than before." "That's amazing, Matt." "You're getting stronger every day," I said, proud of him. "It's all thanks to you, and Gemma," he replied, his gratitude filling my heart with warmth. The transition wasn't always smooth. Matt had nightmares for months, often waking up crying for his mother. I would comfort him, holding him close and reassuring him that he was safe and loved. Slowly, the nightmares became less frequent. I enrolled Matt in a nearby elementary school, where teachers quickly noted his intelligence and creativity. Though shy at first, he gradually made friends and began to thrive in the school environment. The school counselor worked with us to address the emotional trauma of his abandonment, providing a safe space for Matt to express his feelings. Though I never showed it, I often fought back tears of joy watching Matt grow healthier day by day. It was my greatest reward. I dedicated myself to keeping him safe and happy, and as the years passed, I cherished every moment. 15 years flew by. Life with Matt had changed me completely. I never remarried after Todd left with Mary, but Matt gave my life purpose. Sometimes I wondered how Mary and Todd were doing, but I had no real desire to see them. It was just idle curiosity about the people they had become. Matt grew into a thoughtful, intelligent teenager. He excelled in school, particularly in science and mathematics. By age 14, he was already talking about becoming a doctor, inspired by the medical professionals who had helped him recover from his malnutrition. "I want to help other kids like me," he told me one evening as we worked on his science project. Kids who don't have anyone to speak up for them. My heart swelled with pride. Despite everything he'd been through, Matt had developed such compassion and determination. We had long since stopped using the terms aunt and nephew to us. We were simply mother and son. When Matt was 12, I officially adopted him, making legal what we already knew in our hearts. The day the adoption was finalized was one of the happiest of my life. There were challenges, of course. The teenage years brought their own struggles, questions about identity, about his biological mother, about why she had left. I answered as honestly as I could, never speaking ill of Mary but not hiding the truth either. "Your mother made choices that hurt us both," I would explain. "But those choices led to you and me becoming a family, and for that, I can't be entirely sorry." One day, that curiosity was unexpectedly satisfied while I was out shopping. I heard a voice. "Hey, are you Gemma?" I turned around and saw her, an older but unmistakable Mary. "Mary? It's really you," I said, my voice stiff with shock. "Gemma, long time no see." Mary greeted me with a cheerful smile, acting as if nothing had happened. A chill ran down my spine as memories of 15 years ago flooded back. Just then, a man walked up to her. It was Todd. "Hey, what's going on?" "Wait, is that Gemma?" he said, grinning. "Wow, Gemma, you've aged quite a bit, haven't you?" I clenched my teeth, anger boiling inside me. How could they stand there smiling like everything was fine? Todd had left me, and Mary had abandoned her own son. Matt and I had silently agreed never to discuss it, but we both knew the truth. Now here they were, acting as if nothing had happened. For a moment, I was that heartbroken woman again, standing in my kitchen holding divorce papers, trying to explain to a frightened little boy why his mother wasn't coming home. The audacity of their casual greeting after such betrayal left me momentarily speechless. "What do you think you're doing?" I demanded, letting my anger show. Mary laughed, brushing it off. "Oh, come on, Gemma. Aren't you glad you got to spend time with Matt?" I was speechless at her audacity. Seeing my disgust, she just smirked. "Don't be so mad. Let bygones be bygones." I struggled to stay composed. These two had no remorse for what they'd done. "And that brat of yours, how's he doing?" Mary asked casually, while Todd laughed beside her. Don't listen to her, I thought. Matt's not some dying kid anymore. Todd's grin widened. "Still single, Gemma? Did you miss your chance?" "Mary and I are still madly in love." I didn't respond, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing me upset. "Are you still bitter about being left? You can't even ask for alimony or child support, can you?" Mary added smugly. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction in keeping calm. They weren't going to get a reaction from me. "Well," Mary continued, Matt may have been a failed experiment, but our daughter is perfectly healthy. That word, daughter, caught my attention. I turned to Todd. You have a daughter? She just turned 14, he replied proudly. She's the cutest thing ever. But Mary's face had changed. Her earlier confidence was gone. I sensed there was more to the story. So you got pregnant after you left, huh? I asked, watching Mary's expression harden further. She looked uncomfortable, and Todd quickly jumped in. Of course she's mine. She was born a year after we started living together. Mary flinched at his words, her nervous expression betraying her. Something wasn't adding up. I kept my distance as Todd stepped closer, trying to assert his confidence. Well, that's questionable, Todd, I said. Mary was meeting all kinds of people while leaving Matt with me. Todd's expression shifted from smile to shock as the truth began to sink in. I continued, recalling what I'd learned when I hired a detective to investigate them after they ran off. Mary had been seeing other men, not just on weekends, but even during the week while I took care of Matt. She'd been going out, having fun, and letting others pay for her expenses, all while pretending to be a devoted mother. No way, Todd muttered, his face pale. We spent weekends together. How could she have had time to meet other men? During the weekdays, Todd. While you were at work, she was out enjoying herself, I explained. Todd looked at Mary, stunned. You told me you were exhausted from working for Matt's sake. Mary stayed silent, avoiding his gaze. Todd's voice grew more strained. Then why did you marry me? Was I just convenient? Mary didn't answer, clearly hoping the conversation would end. Let me guess, I added calmly. Todd was the most financially stable out of all the men, wasn't he? Mary's eyes widened in panic, and she shouted, Stop it. Todd stared at her, anger and disbelief written all over his face. Is that true? Was I just your ATM? Mary's face turned red with embarrassment, and she didn't respond. I even have recordings, I said, of conversations with your friends where you called Todd your ATM. Mary froze, realizing the depth of her secrets that I had uncovered. Todd looked devastated, his voice trembling. So our daughter might not even be mine? That's ridiculous. Mary grabbed Todd's arm, desperate to convince him. She's yours. Todd didn't look convinced, and I stayed calm. You can easily find out with a DNA test, I suggested. Mary's face went pale, her confidence crumbling. No, there's no need for that. She's Todd's daughter, she insisted. But it didn't matter to me. Mary's protests were meaningless, and Todd's trust in her was shattered. I was here for one reason, to stand up for Matt after how cruelly they had treated him. Whatever you two decide to do is your business, I said firmly. But remember, I raised Matt with love and care, and that will never change. Mary and Todd looked defeated as I turned to leave. Just then, I heard Matt's voice behind me. Mom, are you ready to go? I turned and smiled. Oh, I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Matt. It's okay. Let's go, he said, walking over to me. Mary and Todd stared at him in disbelief, struggling to recognize the competent young man standing before them. Wait, is that Matt? Mary asked, her voice trembling as she pointed at him. Matt stood tall in a sharp suit, healthy and strong, nothing like the frail child Mary had abandoned. Yes, this is Matt, I said proudly. He's 20 now and thriving. Matt's calm, steady voice followed mine. I remember everything, even though I was young. I know who you two are, my biological mother and her lover. Todd looked horrified as he tried to process Matt's composed but cutting words. But weren't you supposed to be really sick? I thought you only had 6 months to live, Todd stammered. No, I interjected. Matt was never sick. That 6-month story was something Mary made up. After she left, I took Matt to the hospital, where the doctors diagnosed him with malnutrition, not any life-threatening illness. All he needed was proper food and care. Mary's face turned bright red with embarrassment. I tried, but he was such a picky eater, she muttered weakly. Todd's expression twisted with disgust. Matt eats well now, I said. He's healthy, strong, and even played sports in high school. And I'm studying to become a doctor, so no other kids have to go through what I did, Matt added. Mary and Todd gasped, shocked by how far Matt had come. I had no idea, Todd mumbled. And there's no need for Mary to insult him anymore or call him names, I said, shooting Mary a pointed look. Mary glanced away, ashamed. If she had raised Matt, he never would have reached this point. She opened her mouth to speak, but Todd cut her off. I want a divorce, he said bluntly. Mary's eyes widened in panic. What? No. You can't be serious, she cried, clinging to his arm. But Todd's expression stayed firm. After learning how you neglected Matt and lied to me, I can't stay with you. Mary's voice grew frantic. It's all a misunderstanding. Gemma twisted the truth. But Todd shook his head. You treated me like an ATM, and now I see the truth. Mary tried to deny it, but Todd was done. I'm finished, he said coldly. He turned to me, his face filled with regret. Gemma, I can never make up for what I've done, but I'm truly sorry. He bowed his head in apology. I felt nothing. The anger and betrayal I once harbored had long since faded, replaced by the love and joy of raising Matt. I've moved on, Todd. Matt and I have our own lives now, I said firmly. With that, I turned back to Matt. Let's go, Matt. Yeah, let's go, he replied. As we started to walk away, Mary's voice called out, trembling. Matt, I'm so sorry. I regret leaving you all this time, she said, tears in her eyes as she stepped closer. Matt turned to her but held up his hand to stop her. Don't, he said, his voice steady. I remember all the times you pushed me out of the house when strange men came over. Mary's face turned pale. Matt continued, his tone unwavering. And I remember the day you abandoned me. I decided then that I'd never forgive you. He looked her straight in the eyes. You're calling her mom? Mary asked desperately. Yes, Matt replied. Gemma raised me. She's my real mother. Mary stood frozen, realizing there was no chance of reconciliation. Don't ever try to see us again, Matt said firmly. Mary collapsed in tears as Matt and I walked away together. Later, I heard that Todd had a DNA test done and found out the daughter wasn't his. He sued Mary for damages, filed for divorce, and left her for good. Mary tried to retaliate by spreading rumors about him, but it only backfired, leaving her with nothing. I eventually blocked all her messages and cut ties completely. Matt, meanwhile, thrived. He grew into a wonderful man, got engaged to his girlfriend, and made me so proud. We continued living together, cherishing our time as mother and son. Matt's engagement to Sophia, a brilliant medical student he met in university, brought new joy to our lives. Sophia quickly became part of our family, understanding and respecting the special bond Matt and I shared. When they announced their engagement, I felt my heart might burst with happiness. She said yes, Matt exclaimed, bursting through the front door one evening, Sophia by his side, both beaming with joy. The diamond ring sparkled on her finger. I embraced them both, tears of happiness streaming down my face. I'm so happy for you both, I whispered, truly meaning it. As the wedding plans progressed, Matt faced a moment of uncertainty. One evening, he sat beside me on the porch swing, the same spot where I'd comforted him through countless childhood worries. Mom, he began hesitantly, I've been thinking about inviting Mary to the wedding. He watched my face carefully. Not for her sake, but to show her what she missed, what we built together without her. I took his hand in mine. Matt, this is your day. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. But remember, you don't need to prove anything to anyone, especially not to Mary. He nodded thoughtfully. You're right. I don't need her there. Our family is already complete. On Matt's 20th birthday, I took him out to a nice restaurant to celebrate. Let's make a toast to adulthood, I said, raising my glass. Cheers, Matt replied, clinking his glass with mine. In that moment, I felt truly happy knowing I'd made the right choices for Matt. This right here was everything I had ever wanted. The road had been difficult, filled with pain and betrayal, but it had led us to this perfect moment. A mother and son bound not by blood, but by love, trust, and the journey we had traveled together. As we sat there, enjoying our meal and reminiscing about the years gone by, I realized that Mary and Todd's betrayal, as painful as it had been, had given me the greatest gift of all, my son. And for that, despite everything, I could almost find it in my heart to forgive them. Almost. Matt graduated from medical school with honors, specializing in pediatric nutrition. His research on childhood malnutrition won national recognition, and he established a foundation to help children from disadvantaged backgrounds receive proper nutrition and healthcare. Sophia and Matt welcomed their first child, a beautiful baby girl they named Hope. As I held my granddaughter for the first time, the circle of our family felt complete. We had overcome betrayal and abandonment to create something beautiful, a family bound by choice and love rather than merely by blood. Mary tried to contact Matt once more when news of his medical achievements made local headlines. She sent a letter congratulating him and suggesting they reconnect. Matt read the letter calmly, then placed it in a drawer without responding. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, he told me when I asked about it. And that's okay. I have everything I need right here. And he was right. We had built our own happiness from the ashes of betrayal. Our journey taught us that family isn't always about who shares your blood. It's about who shares your heart, who stands by you in the darkest times, and who celebrates with you in the brightest moments. In the end, the betrayal that once threatened to destroy us became the foundation upon which we built a life filled with love, purpose, and joy. And that, perhaps, is the greatest victory of all.